Hi, welcome to our first lesson in the unit on energy. This is part of the collaboration between the Technion and the Abrams Hebrew Academy, and I'll be your teacher for this first unit. My name is Sam Ribnick, and I'm excited to get started learning about energy. Now, to really learn about energy, we need to start with one of the most important places that energy is connected to our everyday life, and that is the idea of global warming. You might have heard it called climate change, but either way, we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about the effects on the Earth that are causing the temperature to go up, that are causing there to be more wild storms and crazy hurricanes like we've had in recent years, and of course the effect that has on plant and animal life, leading maybe to animals becoming endangered or even extinct. So that means that parts of nature that are green and lush with water today might soon be much drier, and areas that are covered in ice and snow today are soon going to be warmer and forever changed. So that we might have more places on Earth that look like, well, probably not like that, but we might have more places that look like this, drier and difficult for animals and plants to live. So because of that, it's really important that we understand the science behind global warming so that we can start making a change. But wait, you say, I'm already making a change. I have replaced the light bulbs in my house with those curly new light bulbs that compact fluorescence. Or maybe you say, I turn off the lights when I leave the room, I try to walk instead of riding in a car. Those are all good things, and you should keep doing them. But we also need to understand how big of a challenge global warming can really be for us. I want to show you a list of some activities that you might do that are all connected to global warming. And you're just going to keep track, just keep your own score of how many of those activities you do. So put up a finger each time you do one. Ready? Let's get started. Number 1, do you ever play video games? Well, I do. I play on my phone, so that counts. So that's 1 for me. Do you ever ride in a car? Maybe you even rode in a car today. That's 2. Do you ever ride in an airplane? I have, so I'm up to 3. How about charge your phone? Yeah, of course. 4. Do you ever cook food? It doesn't look like that when I cook food, but even just using the microwave, we gotta count that. So that's 5. Do you ever buy anything at all at a store? Well, wait a minute, you might say. How can buying something at a store be connected with global warming? Well, those things had to get there somehow, probably on the back of a truck, and they also had to be manufactured in some factory somewhere. So now we're at 6. And the last one, 7? Well, of course, everybody eats, so this means that we've just named 7 activities. You might be holding up 7 fingers just like me. Now, that's okay. It's normal. Most people do these 7 things. But we need to understand how they're all connected with global warming so that we can start making a change. What do all of these have in common anyway? Well, you might have said that they all use some sort of fuel or energy, and that's really the important factor here. So whether it's a car or cooking or whatever, if it's using fuel, that means it has a connection to global warming. To understand this deeper, we need to look at a graph of the temperature of the Earth as it's changed over time. So we're going to start back with millions of years ago and watch how the temperature has changed. So some people would tell you, global warming? That means the temperature is just going up and up and up. But that's actually not what scientists have found with their studies. So that's not true. Let's start that over. What scientists have actually done is they've gone and looked for evidence. They've looked for something that can show them what the temperature of the Earth was at times in the past. So they look for rocks that have air pockets that show them something about the temperature. They dig into Antarctica, into the ice, and they're able to tell by how much ice there is in different layers what the temperature has been. And what scientists have found is that there are times when the temperature has been higher, times where it's been lower. It's gone up and down over history. We call that going up and down pattern fluctuating. So we say the temperature of the Earth has fluctuated over millions of years. Now today, the temperature is heading up. You might have heard in the news about how the last 10 years on record are the hottest 10 years we've ever had, and that's a problem. Things are heading upwards. But there's a big question. Are things just going to go back down like they have in the past? Or is it going to be different this time, and are they going to keep going up? Well, scientists have a lot of evidence to think that this time the temperature will just keep going up, which is why we're concerned. Now, I'm going to show you over the course of these lessons the evidence, the facts that scientists have gathered, and you can judge for yourself what you think will be happening with the temperature. Let's take a look. We need to look at a different graph here, one that explains the connection that looks at the amount of fuel that humans have used over history. Now, going back millions of years ago, there were no humans, so that line stays really low for a long time. And then at a certain point, cavemen came on the scene, and maybe we started using a little fuel for fires and other things. But it wasn't until more recently, in the 1800s, that we saw a really big change. And this was during something called the Industrial Revolution. This started in England and then spread out to the rest of the world. And this was the time when, for the first time, people were inventing engines and motors, putting in machines in factories and trains all across the countryside, and it eventually led to power plants and electricity and cars that we have today. And all of those things required burning fuel. And so that is the reason that you see that graph starting to spike way up starting in the 1800s. Now, what effect does this have on the temperature? So the thing is that every time you're burning fuel, you're putting pollution into the atmosphere, and you're also adding heat into the atmosphere. And those are exactly the causes that can make the temperature of the Earth go up. So let's see now what's going to happen to our fuel use in the future. Maybe it's going to go down and we'll be okay. Well, pretty much everyone agrees that our fuel use is going to keep going up in the future. And the reason is because there are billions of people in the world who right now are living very simple lives without a lot of material things, but they're becoming more and more like Americans and Europeans, and they want to have the same nice cars and big houses and all sorts of different gadgets that we have. And that means that all of those people are going to need more factories, more transportation. That all means more fuel. So as those billions of people start living the way we're living today, and as we continue to live this way, that means that there's a lot of people using a lot of fuel. And that means that we're going to see changes. So let's review the whole story. We've got fuel like oil, coal, and gas. And if we look at what's happening, as more and more people use this fuel, and as us in the US, as we continue to use huge amounts of this fuel, that's connected to the pollution that happens all around the Earth. And that's also one of the causes that leads to the temperature of the Earth rising. It's a scary story. It's saying that if we don't make some big changes, the temperature is going to keep going up, the Earth will get more polluted. But the good news is there are things that we can do. The two most important changes is we can start using cleaner fuels. So that means instead of burning coal and oil and gas for our power, we could start using solar and wind and water power. And that we can even have our cars run on electricity like that someday. So we can use cleaner fuels, and of course we can use less fuel. Right now, individuals in the US, if you live in the United States, you probably use more fuel than people almost anywhere else in the world. And so if you can make a change for yourself to use less fuel, that also can make a difference. The really good news is that just like science has helped us understand this problem, science also has helped us discover a lot of solutions, new technologies, more efficient cars, and science will continue to help us reach those solutions. So as you start on your mission of learning energy in the unit to come, you will be starting on the path to be a scientist that could make all the difference for the world someday.